My Chanukah. The Gemara asks, what's Chanukah? So Rashi explains over there, what is the question, my Chanukah? And which miracle is Chanukah Chal? And which miracle do we celebrate Chanukah? What's the miracle? So the Gemara goes on to explain that the miracle is that they found the Pak Shemen inside the base of Mikdash with the seal of the Kohen Gadol, and it burned for 8 days. On that miracle, that's what we're celebrating. The only problem is if you look at the Siddur, and even from Svara, you'll see by Chanukah, what do you say? Remember here, what happened over there? The Hashem with his Rachamim had the Rabta as Rivdam, that the minority overcame the majority. Right? When we had Nakama, we had the war, we had the Gibborim, and Tachlis, the bottom line is that the Nes Hanukkah was the Milchama, and the fact that and Rav Chaim Shmuel Lovitz says, can you compare the Nes, that the oil burned for 8 days, as compared to the spiritual salvation of the Jewish people for all history? Nes Pak Shemen. Can you compare the miracle of the Pak Shemen, the Tachlis that it burned for 7 days? The Nes Hatzalah Shahayaba Teshua Gedola. There was a tremendous saving of the Jewish people. The Kiyam call Torah Kulo, the Dorodoros, that the Torah continued for generations and generations. I mean, what is a greater? Okay, maybe in terms of the Nes, I hear your kash a little bit, but in terms of the greatness of the Nafkamina, the practical difference, it's much greater that the Jewish people survived. So it's a much greater thing. That should be what the celebration is. Why is the celebration on the Nes? Good, that's the question. Now, we have another question. Always you should know the Parsha of Yosef always falls during Chanukah. So there's a famous thing here. It says by Yosef. When Yosef was about to go to Mitzrayim, he's hit the bottom of the pit, literally. Right? He's at the bottom and they're taking him out and they're going to take him to Mitzrayim. This is the worst possible thing that could happen to him. He's going to a place of Avodah Zarah. 49 levels of Tumah. And there's no way to get out of there.
Going to America?
Yeah, right. Okay. There's no way to get out. Choshek, he says. This is like the worst possible thing that could happen to a person. He's going down to Mitzrayim. So Rashi explains there, the Pasuk says, since the Pasuk told us, what were they carrying? They were carrying, instead of carrying tar, they were carrying spices.
Which doesn't make sense.
What does Rashi say to us? It brings the Midrash Rabbah that says, what do you learn from here? Why did the verse come to tell you that they were carrying spices to make known the rewards of the righteous? What's the reward of the righteous? Instead of coming along with tar and petroleum and things that stink the whole ride, he's going to have to be smelling this stuff. He got these spices, this wonderful fragrance. Comes along Rav Chaim Shmuel Lovitz and says, wait a second, what's going on here? What does Yosef care? The guy's being taken to Auschwitz. Does he care whether he's in a stinky car or he's in a car with spices? Thank you very much for spices. But the bottom line is he's being taken to Auschwitz. He's being taken to Mitzrayim. This is the worst thing that's going to happen to him. What's the big difference? He has spices. What does he care that he has spices? And the answer to that question is, it wasn't just spices. At that point, Yosef saw that Hashem was with him. From that small, tiny thing, he saw, I agree this is the worst situation, but if I go one step bigger and I try to reframe and look at the bigger picture, Hashem's with me. Hashem is with me. Hashem's taking me to Mitzrayim. Hashem's taking me to the Holocaust. Hashem is doing this, but at least Hashem's with me. He says it's like it's or panav. He saw the light of Hashem. He saw Hashem's face. If you see that Hashem's in the picture, even though the picture looks horrible, but Hashem's with you, it's a different way. It takes away the yeush, he says. That Hashem didn't forget him. He's not lost 100%. Hashem is still with him. A Karen aura, a beam of light in the darkness. He's one little beam of light, and that keeps him from being mityayish. He's going to connect this whole idea with Yosef with miracles. Now, when Goliath got hit by the rock, David threw a rock at him, and he got hit right in the forehead. So which way should he have fallen? Should have fell backwards. The Chazal says that there was a miracle there that he fell forward. Why? For the Sadiq, because David wanted to chop off Goliath's head. So instead of him having to walk 12 amos, the guy was 12 amos high. Instead of having to walk all the way to his head to chop it off, his head fell right in front of him and he was able to chop it off. So what is the big deal?
The head came to you.
Right? What is the big deal?
Heads will roll.
So the answer is the same idea. In other words, a miracle does not have to be big. A miracle could be very small. But just because it's small doesn't mean that it's not big. The whole point of what is a miracle? He wants to explain what a miracle is. A miracle wants to mean that Hashem shows that He's there. Hashem shows He's part of the picture. And it could be even in the smallest thing. An Adarab, he wants to say like this. He says, where does it, if you have a children and a father, now, the children usually don't thank the father for, Dad, thanks for, giving me a bed this morning. I'm happy I woke up in a bed. Thanks, Dad, for putting a roof over my house, over my head. And thanks, Dad, for giving me breakfast. That's not the teva of children. That's not the dark teva either. The basic fundamental things, that the father takes care of the basic fundamental things, that does not necessarily express the real love for the child. The child feels the real love when you give him a little extra special thing, you give him a little kiss, you tell him thank you. And also the same thing with the wives. You can buy the wife the most biggest thing, but if you give it with a sour face, or you don't give it with the right attitude, it's not going to have the same impact. And you can give the smallest thing to your wife, the smallest little thing, but you give it with love, and you give it with care, it means so much more than even a fur coat or a diamond ring or something like that. It can mean even just a cup of tea in the morning can mean the greatest thing. In other words, the fact that it was a smaller miracle, God gives everything to everybody. But the fact that God gave us a special gift of the menorah that burned for an extra 7 days, even though it was much smaller in terms of the greater picture, in terms of the fact that Klal Yisrael and the Torah was saved and our spirituality was saved, but it was greater in the sense that it showed God's love to us. So the small little lights that we light on Chanukah, even though they're small, they represent God's tremendous love for us and care for us, and the fact that He gives us, He's involved with the details of our life. Because the small thing is the big thing. The small thing shows God's love to us. The big thing, everybody understands, okay, you were saved, you get food and water and bread, and God takes care of you. But the special care and love, that's the light of Chanukah.